Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Michigan Emergency Department Improvement Collaborative March meeting. We're delighted that you're all here. Can't wait to see you in person soon, but today we have a pretty exciting agenda for you and just wanted to welcome everybody. Thanks for your patience while we get started. I wanted to take you through a couple things just for hospitality reasons as we start off. Just remember, disclosures-wise, Keith Coker is funded by SAMHSA and MDHHS for opioid work. The rest of us in the coordinating center have no disclosures to make. This is the agenda for today. You should have all received this in the email if you haven't gotten a copy in front of you. We're going to talk a bit about our performance updates, our DNP committees, and our quality initiative balancing measures, which we haven't done in a while. And then we have a guest speaker, Dr. Mike Englesby. And we're going to talk to you about our Michigan Medic strategic agenda moving forward. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the impact of the COVID pandemic that you asked us to look into, and we have some interesting information there. And then we're going to have another guest speaker, Dr. Jeff Barnes, before we conclude at about 2 o'clock. So just remember that we are going to be showing some private information, and we don't want this to be copied, so just keep that in mind. Just some of the ground rules. Unlike a lot of the Zoom meetings that we do have, this is a webinar, so we do want to encourage you to speak with us during the meeting, but to do that you need to go through the Q&A bar on your screen. So we really welcome that, and we have our team sitting behind the scenes here ready to take those questions, and whatever we can't get to in the meeting, we'll certainly answer after the meeting. So thanks very much for doing that, but please be encouraged to ask any questions as we go through. At the end of the meeting, there'll be CME. This is the QR code. We'll show this again at the end of the meeting, but you will also receive this after the meeting in an email. But remember, it expires in 6 months. So please take credit for the credit that you do in terms of this work. Also remember that we need some feedback for these meetings. We want to make sure that we're serving you, so you will get a link to the survey within about 24 hours after the meeting. So please take a moment and tell us how we're doing and what we can do better. We certainly appreciate that, and we do act on that. We have some new people in the coordinating center, and I know that many of you have met Susie Saylor, who's our new database manager. We want to welcome her again. We have also 2 new clinicians joining our group, Dr. Courtney Mangus, who's a colleague of mine from Pediatric Emergency Services at U of M. She is a instructional track researcher who specializes in pediatric and pediatric quality. And Dr. Chris Fung, who's an adult emergency provider at U of M. He's also helping us with some of the technical reporting measures on our measures within Medic. So we're excited to have those 2 folks with us. So reach out to them and say hi. I wanted to really spend just a minute or two on the landscape of our membership because it's changing. There's been a lot of impact from and through the pandemic. But if you remember, every year we roll through a recruitment process and we encourage and enroll new members in groups. And this is what's happened over the series of, should say, the semblance of time since we began. So we now have 7 cohorts. But in the past year, 2 of our members, system hospitals, have stepped away, including DMC, except for Children's Hospital, which remains, and the Beaumont family of hospitals. So if you look at this longitudinally, what does that mean in terms of the content of the various cohorts? So you can see we have now some smaller cohorts as we move along. And remember, we have had some others prior to this change also take a step away, and that was McLaren Northern several years ago, and as well as Hurley during the start of the pandemic. So while we miss those folks, we hope they come back. We know that this was largely financial reasons, and they still respect and are very impressed with the quality of work we do. So we did want to share that with everyone so you have a general idea of where we are at in terms of our membership. We are again recruiting, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So our new strategy, of course, is to try to make us as open and to all members of emergency department groups and hospitals around the state. And so we are focusing not only on increasing the number of branches, so for those systems that remain, please let us hear from you if you have other hospitals that you'd like to include in Medic, but we also want to return our attention to freestanding EDs, and we'll be probably doing some of that this year and looking at how we can group some of the smaller critical access hospitals as well as ambulatory care centers within the Medic umbrella. So we also want to make sure that our measures are aligned with what your hospitals care about. So perhaps in some of the survey feedback or even directly to us, to that end, please let us know what those missions and priorities are for your institutions. We want to hear about that. I also want to just emphasize that we have changed and are reorganizing some of our internal coordinating center so that we can be of more help to you, to take some of the lift off the clinical champions. So we want to bet some of the people just in that previous slide who are here to help. And certainly Katie and Carrie are here to help with some of the direct quality work. And we want to hear from you in terms of what that content could be for you. So we're building that capacity in terms of personnel. And we want to focus on value to you and return on investment. So besides the CME and the MOC, of course, that this year, again, we want to make sure that we are both helping you directly as well as providing incentives that mean and speak to your priorities, and as well as learning with the emergency medicine landscape of evidence as it rolls out across the country. So if you have any information about how we can do that better, please reach out to Katie. She'd be happy to hear from you, and we'll work on that and getting you some at the elbow support. So I did want to mention that with the exodus of some of the folks that are in systems that have now left Medic, we wanted to just go back and double check our 2022 VBR and P4P targets. We've done a little bit of that preliminary work, but we want to make sure that the targets that we have set for the remainder of us are appropriate and don't change much. And we don't expect that they will, but we just wanted to throw this information up for you to make sure that you know that we are looking to make sure that our targets are set according to the people that exist and are doing the work within Medic. So we'll be communicating that with you through an email in the coming weeks, and that information will be filtered through, as it usually is, through our executive committee, as well as getting approval through the Blue Cross Blue Shield leadership team. So with that, we have a couple of informational points about our committees with the exit of several of our members that were key on those committees. So starting with the executive committee, we now have 3 open spots. And so each of those members typically serve a 2-year term. And we normally would have an election every 2 years in the fall. But because we have actually 3 open seats immediately and we have some work to get done this year, we've met with the executive committee and they've informed us that they'd like to try to fill those seats sooner rather than later. So we're going to have an immediate election. So if you are at all interested, we can certainly, you can certainly self-nominate or nominate someone else in the collaborative that you know that could do a good job. And we would love to have them. So we will have a quick election to fill those seats shortly. And then in the summer and fall, we will have the more formal and traditional election for the remaining 6 seats. But remember, the work that's involved in this is critical. We only meet 3 times a year, and this group serves as the overwhelming site representatives for the entire collaborative and helps us steward ourselves and make decisions while we vet targets and think about strategy and what we're going to do next, and what future quality initiatives we may work on in the future. So super important. If you have at all a little bit of time that you can devote to this, we would welcome you. So thanks so much. And please double check and send an email to Megan Hugikian if you are at all interested or want to nominate somebody.